Well, now I've been asked by our producer here at Crick Buzz to give my report card. Now, I've watched Harsha Bhogle's report card, India against Sri Lanka, so I've looked at the way Harsha has done his. And along those lines, I have looked at the players' contributions for the Ashes series just gone. Now, you may disagree with some of these numbers, but here we go. Let's start with Australia's captain, Steve Smith. Superman, indestructible, unbreakable. He broke England's hearts. Look at his numbers. 7 innings, 687 runs, highest score 239 at Perth, 300s, 250s, an average of just short of 138. Comparisons made with Bradman. Dean Jones says the technique is very similar to Bradman, but Smith, well, he broke everything, every resolve, every England heart on this trip. England's bowlers tried everything to crack the code, but they couldn't. So Australia's captain, for me, gets a full 10. 10 out of 10 for Steve Smith. Mitchell Marsh and Shaun Marsh. I was asked about Mitchell, but I'm going to combine both these together. I'm going to put the Marsh Brothers as one package. Mitchell Marsh played 3 out of the 5 tests, but he got 200s in those 3 tests that he played. The 181 with Steve Smith in Perth, they put on 301. Again, that was a massive stand that really kept England honest, and it really kept England out of the contest. And then he got 101 in the last test, batting with his brother Shaun, who made 156. So let's go on to Shaun Marsh. Shaun Marsh played in all 5 test matches, second only to Smith in the leading run scorers. 445 runs, averaging 74 with 200s and 250s. That 156 in Sydney with his brother Mitchell. Man of the match in Adelaide when the ball was going around under lights with 126 in the first innings. So for me, the 2 Marsh brothers come as a package, and I'm going to give them a mark of 8.5 out of 10 for the Marsh Brothers. Mitchell Starc, the L factor, left arm, lethal, and just unplayable. I know that's a U, but I've got 2 L's in there. Let's not be pedantic. He literally took on the mantle of Mitchell Johnson, providing that pace, that hostility, that aggression. So for me, Mitchell Starc, even though he only played in 4 of the 5 tests, he missed the 1. And with his 22 wickets, only Pat Cummins was above him with 23. And only once did he take 5 wickets in an innings. That was in the second innings in Adelaide. And he took 8 for 117 in that match. But for sheer pace, that aggression, that hostility, for me, Mitchell Starc, he was the bowler that England feared most. He gets 9 out of 10. Pat Cummins was a bonus for Australia. Again, he provided the pace and hostility, and he remained fit throughout the series. Let's look at his numbers. He played in all 5 tests. He didn't take a 5-wicket haul, but 23 wickets made him the leading wicket taker. But not just the wickets. He was at England's throats with the ball, but he also got important runs in the first test in Brisbane. In 1 or 2 newspapers in Australia, they were talking about Keith Miller, the Keith Miller factor, that wonderful, wonderful test cricketer from bygone years, Keith Miller. Cummins, for me, could be the genuine all-round article. He's got everything. He really has. Man of the match in Sydney, for me, he's a 9 out of 10 for Pat Cummins. Josh Hazlewood. I'm looking at all this bowling attack. Josh Hazlewood, always pacey, and what he does have is this uncanny knack to work out the length that's required very quickly on different kinds of pitches. That's his quality. He can work out different length. 21 wickets in 5 matches, 5 for 48 in England's second innings in Perth. He took 8 for 140 in that match. For me, he was always asking questions of England's batsmen. For me, Josh Hazlewood, 8.5 out of 10. Which brings me now to Australia's off-spinner, Nathan Lyon. He bowled 260 overs, the most by anyone in the series, and he took 21 wickets, and his economy was 2.36. So not only did he strangle England in terms of run scoring, but he's now taking wickets as well. He's not just that bowler, an end bowler to keep an end going. He takes wickets. And against England's predominant left-hand brigade, well, it was easy for Nathan Lyon. Alistair Cooke, how many times did he take him in the series? Every time he saw Alistair Cooke or a left-hander coming out, he fancied his chances. What about that caught and bowled Moeen Ali? A wonderful catch. And then there was that run out of Vince in the first test in Brisbane. So for me now, Nathan Lyon with 74 test matches, 290 wickets, he is the real thing as an off-spinner. 8.5 out of 10 I give to Nathan Lyon. We move on. England. Well, I've been asked to look at Root, Cooke and Anderson. Let's go to Joe Root, England's beleaguered captain. Did the burden of captaincy weigh too heavily on his shoulders? I think it did. And of course, the big question is, why can't he convert those 50s into hundreds? 5 50s in this series, top score of 83, but no centuries. There was that decision in Adelaide as well when he won the toss and he put Australia into bat under lights. Australia made 442 for 8 declared. I'm not saying that that was entirely his decision. It might have been a management decision, but as captain, you make the decision on the field. For me, Joe Root, 6.5 out of 10. Desperately wanted to go to 7, but no century in there, and it required a century. Alistair Cooke, woefully out of form. He got the big 100, 244 not out in the test in Melbourne, but the series was already done. Where were Alistair Cooke's runs? And he's already gone to 12,000 runs, of course, to cement his position amongst the greats in run scorers. Alistair Cooke has now been part of 15 defeats in 20 matches in Australia. It's the most by any player in a visiting country. And it was his technique that was scrutinised that wasn't working for him, but it came together, of course, in Melbourne. For me, I'm afraid it's a low mark for Alistair Cooke, 4 out of 10. James Anderson, in my last player in my report card, 223 overs in the series, second only to Nathan Lyon, and he took 17 wickets at 27, and he picked up 5 for 43 in Adelaide in the second innings, but crucially, England wanted those wickets in the first innings when Root had won the toss and put Australia into bat. It wasn't his fault, but he lacked the support. He needed more support from Stuart Broad, who bowled his heart out, but Broad didn't get the wickets, he got 11. He wanted the support from Woakes and he wanted it from Overton. He got some support from Overton, then Overton of course got injured, but Moeen Ali didn't do his job as a holding bowler or as an attacking bowler. But as a bowler with a big heart, you cannot fault what James Anderson did for England, but heart wasn't enough in this series. Australia all have big hearts, a collective huge heart. England had it in James Anderson, but it wasn't quite enough. But I'm going to give James Anderson for his Ashes series a report mark of 7 out of 10. That completes my report card. I'm sure that you've got your own numbers and your own players and thoughts, but for me, that's my report card on the Ashes.